as an email.
This is my contributions to the charter. Well, that's because I threw all mine in the bag. Most of it is just printed versions of something like that we had electronically or only needed for a moment.
One time, Sean made some water. Just go check my drawer. Probably right on top.
I found it. Thank you.
Is sound on, Myra?
Yes.
Thank you.
Chris is coming.
And it's live.
I need to know that information. Or else I get in trouble.
That's what I would say. Before it's time. Because, especially in the later days, so, you think you were fine. No, oh yes, that's.
He messaged me.
That's what I was saying. I remember the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
I need a
no more pantalones.
computer. Are we ready to go or what? Yeah, but my computer jumped out. Get him to help me with it.
Oh yeah.
My
Oh yes.
password expired. Did I put in a new one?
Yeah, because she turned up her sensitivity on her.
She hears if I do this.
Oh, it's actually really funny. 'Cause, well, I'm
This is the one you have now?
We are,
I had this one here, Rollins Council, to get on.
whenever at your.
Oh, that's
It's your camera.
Oh, yeah.
It's
22.
Somebody said something about that, about hanging curtains in the house. I
Is
said,
it a
hey,
capital R?
it's
capital
their
C?
problem if they look in, you know?
Just don't show movies on.
That's right.
I don't have to do this and make sure it doesn't have a debit.
And now you want to do.
What's in that one? See, this gets me on it. This one here would get me on it. And then I punch these in.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I'm not sure that I have
Oh, yes, I have it.
Yeah, here.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah, that's what I did. And it wouldn't take it. I put 20 instead of 23.
Oh, okay.
Okay, got it.
There you go.
We have what?
Are we ready? Everybody ready?
Yeah, that's what it was going to
It is 7:32, and I'll call this meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Terry Wycombe,
Here.
Vice Mayor Jacqueline Wells,
Here.
Councilmember Aaron Durst,
Here.
Councilmember Darrell Gardner,
Here.
Councilmember Davari Martinez,
Here.
Councilmember Linda Smith,
Present, here.
Councilmember Chris Weisenberg. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next thing on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Councilman Smith.
Mayor, I move to approve the agenda with the following amendments. Under, take number K under new business, remove that from the agenda.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the agenda with the amendment of removing item K under new business. Is there any discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open.
Here. Yes. Sorry about that.
It's okay, thank you. The motion passes with 6 yeas.
Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the 29th. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve the special city council meeting minutes of March 29th, 2022 as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the special city council meeting minutes of March 29th, 2022 as presented. Is there any discussion?
I just have a quick legal question. If I was late for the meeting, would it be best to abstain?
Yes, you can approve it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open.
Yes. This ain't letting me in for some reason. I don't know what the hell.
Online voting has closed. The motion passes with 5 yeas and 1 abstain, and Councilmember Durst abstained.
Thank you. Next thing on our agenda is to approve the minutes of April 5th. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve the city council regular meeting minutes of April 5th, 2022 as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the city council regular meeting minutes of April 5th, 2022 as presented. Any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open.
Yes.
Online voting has passed. The motion passes with 6 yeas.
Thank you. Next thing on our agenda is a public hearing. I will open a public hearing at this time for an ordinance ordinance for second reading and waive the reading of Municipal Code revision to Title 9, Section 9.28.020, which refers to tobacco sales to minors. Is there anybody that would like to speak to that while this public hearing is open? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. I will open the second public hearing, which is to the approval transfer Cappy's K&J Inc., DBA Cappy's Restaurant, retail license number 93 to Cappy's Inc., DBA Cappy's Restaurant, retail liquor license number 93. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing. And the next thing on our agenda is public comment. This is citizens' participation. This is a time set aside for anybody that would like to speak about something that is not on the agenda. You have up to 5 minutes to talk to us about any issue you would like to. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to us tonight? Seeing none, we will go to the next thing on the agenda, which is
Mr. Mayor, sorry.
excuse me.
Can I take a picture before I go on?
Sure.
Apparently you're not getting out of this.
I,
Sorry, you were gonna get your picture taken tonight.
Oh, I thought you was gonna am.
Do we need to get up, stand up?
Smile, everybody.
And
I had
what
no
else?
idea. I mean,
I didn't know if you want to look fresh and cheery at the beginning of the meeting, we can take
I
it.
didn't do my hair. I didn't anything.
Okay.
Fresh and cheery.
Okay, let's do that. I got it on record.
I mean, it didn't snow today.
But it's starting
Pretty
to.
fresh and cheery.
Whenever we take a break, we'll take the group picture, maybe.
All right.
Pictures on everything.
The next thing on our agenda is a proclamation. It is National Crimes Victims' Rights Week. And so I will, City of Rollins, Wyoming proclamation. Whereas America has joined together annually each April for National Crime Victims' Rights Week, which was first declared in 1981 by President Ronald Reagan to focus the attention of our nation on the rights of all crime victims. And whereas we must remain united in our commitment to ensure that victims of all crimes and survivors are treated with compassion, respect, and sensitivity, and be recognized as key participants within our system of justice and afforded services that provide them with hope and self-confidence. And whereas by promoting victims' rights and honoring crime victims and those who advocate on their behalf, we focus on the issues and trauma experienced by the victims of crime and the services available to support them, and provide an equal opportunity to strive to achieve the ideas of this year's themes: rights, access, equality for all victims. Now therefore, I, Terry L. Wycombe, Mayor of City of Rollins, Wyoming, do hereby proclaim the week of April 24th through 30th, 2022 as National Crime Victims Week in the City of Rollins, Wyoming, that we honor victims of all crimes and further extend our appreciation to the Rollins Police Department, Victims Assistance Program during this week and throughout the year for their vital services they provide for all victims. The next thing on our agenda is another proclamation of City of Rollins. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special date to be set aside for planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. Whereas trees are a renewable source, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renew. Therefore, I, Terry Wycombe, Mayor of the City of Rollins, Wyoming, do hereby proclaim the 29th of April, 2022 as Arbor Day in the City of Rollins, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to participate in our local Arbor Day celebration event at 1524 East Daly Street on Friday, April 29th and Saturday, 30th, 2022. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor and Council, if you don't mind, I can speak on Arbor Day a little bit.
Please do.
So I'm here tonight asking you to pass the proclamation for announcing Friday, April 29th is City of Rollins Arbor Day. As many know, the city's urban forest is an important part of this community's infrastructure. It not only provides beautification, which ties into city's strategic plan under community beautification, increases property values, and provides economic stability, which falls under community and economic development, decreases energy consumption, improves overall quality of life, provides habitat for wildlife and plant diversity, reduces air pollution by aiding in removing carbon dioxide and other particulates from the atmosphere, reduces noise pollution by absorbing block noise. The city's Arbor Day celebration is a promotion of planting trees for these benefits through the means of selling trees at cost to the public, offering free seedlings donated by the SER Conservation District. We currently have an adult educational tract as well as youth educational tracts to offer to citizens the morning of Saturday the 30th. So look out for more information on that coming soon. We'll tie down some speakers for that morning. So at this year's celebration, we're offering 18 different tree species, and some of those include Black Hill spruce, apple trees, there's 4 varieties of cherry trees, crab apples, honey locust, 4 varieties of maples, and then we also have some non-traditional offerings of plants such as grapes and Russian sage plants. We also got free seedlings from the SER Conservation District, and those include ponderosa pine and juniper. And those are fairly limited, so the sooner you come, the better. And then this year, we also partnered with the University of Wyoming Cooperative Extension to provide Arbor Day participants with a Rollins pollinator seed mix, comprising of 8 different wildflowers, native locally and regionally. And I got some passed to you guys what we put together. And then an Arbor Day proclamation and celebration are also requirements to be declared a Tree City USA. The Arbor Day Foundation declares a city or municipality a Tree City USA when it is recognized for its work and efforts to promote the planting of trees and its recognition of its urban forest with many benefits. We estimate that between manual labor and actual monetary funds, we invested over $17,500 in the last year to support our community forest. I'm happy to announce that the City of Rollins was once again declared a Tree City USA for 2022, which was our 27th year of achieving that national recognition. That's all I have. If you don't have any questions.
I have no questions, but thank you for what you do. It's always a
And I want to
good
thank
thing.
council for continued support on helping us to manage our community forest. It's an important part of what makes Rollins us.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is that pollinator seed mix we put together with University.
Do you have any choke cherry bushes?
Have you got some choice?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next thing on our agenda is appointment to the Carbon County Visitors Council.
Thanks.
Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to appoint Alex Gruenhagen to Carbon County Visitors Council as member-at-large position on the Board of Directors.
Second.
Thank you.
There's been a motion made and seconded to appoint Alex Gruenhagen to, sorry, Carbon County Visitors Council as member-at-large position on the Board of Directors. Is there any discussion? There
Yes,
must-
thank you, Mr. Mayor Wycombe and council members. As you know, I'm your Rollins representative for the Visitors Council, and I really have appreciated that and learned so much this last year. This position has been open for 10 years, and we just haven't had anybody apply. And Alex applied last month, and we were really impressed with him. He's younger than some of us, but he's got a great deal of experience both in the tourism and the finance business, and you all have his resume. And all the other councils around the county have approved him, so we're really hoping that you all will approve him so that we can have an at-large member.
Does Alex happen to be here?
No,
Okay.
yeah, he's down, out of encampment,
Okay.
and so it's a ways for him. He is going to be at our meeting tomorrow if he gets appointed.
Sure. Any further discussion? Please open online voting. Thank you.
Online voting is open. Online voting is closed. The motion passes with 7 yeas.
Thank you. Next thing on our agenda is city council reports. We'll start with the Board of Adjustments. Councilman Durst.
My understanding is they're trying to put together a meeting and just trying to find a date that works at the moment.
Okay. The next thing on our agenda is a report from myself on the Carbon County Council of Governments, and we have not had a meeting since the last time I reported. Next item is DDA Main Street. Councilman Smith is on that board.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief, but we did have our meeting yesterday, and there's some kind of fun things to tell you. The first thing I want to tell you about is on May 2nd, and I know the mayor knows that Sammy Roth is going to be meeting with the mayor, but he is from the Los Angeles Times, and he's coming here to Rollins, Wyoming, basically to do a story on the windmills. But in this process, we have discovered through him, or he reminded us, that we are the only place in America where two of our country's best-known pathways meet. That is the Continental Divide National Scenic Trail and the historic Lincoln Highway. And where those 4 blocks are, they happen to be in downtown Rollins between 3rd and Colorado Streets. So with that thought in mind, we have the DDA staff has put together a beautiful little, what will be a large sign. It says where the trail meets the highway. So we have our hikers with our Model Ts and the official Lincoln Highway sign. So that'll be kind of fun, because what that does for us is we have an automatic thing that we can advertise that we're one of the only spots in America where that happens. I also want to share with you a little bit about the Creative Hands, where we had artists submit their drawings and they'll become banners. But I just wanted you to take a fast look at this. This is sort of what, these are 3 actual drawings, and this is what the banners will look like when they're done, and they'll go in all of the poles in downtown. And if anybody in the audience wants to see this, I'll be glad to pass it around. So that that was fun. And then I wanted to remind everybody that Summerfest is July 8th and 9th, and our theme is going to be around wind, which I think we called it Rollins Blows You Away. Volunteer Appreciation Day for all of the volunteers, not only for DDA but other city things, is tomorrow at 4 o'clock at the Rollins Music Academy, and we invite all the council and all the folks that come and appreciate our volunteers. And with that, I will stop, but we have a lot of fun things going on. We recently, you've heard about the Ferguson building. We are already starting to ask our DDA board and all of our committees to take a look at that and provide ideas and see what development, how we develop that forward. So there's a lot of fun things going on. So thank you.
Thank you. Next thing is the Rollins Planning Commission. Councilman Weisenberg.
We had a meeting last week, I believe it was, on just bylaws, working the bylaws out for the Planning and Zoning Commission. And then we set a meeting for April 21st at 5:30 right here at in the City Council chambers, and that's a meeting for both Planning and Zoning and Board of Adjustments for a combined meeting. So we can discuss Title 19 accessory buildings. So we can bring that back to council so we can get some stuff going on that.
Thank you. Sounds good. Next thing on our agenda is Urban Systems Committee. Councilman Garner.
I don't have an update. We have a meeting coming up within the next week.
Okay. Was there ever a decision made on that stop sign, yield sign thing?
Yes, I believe, I spoke with Cody, and they're gonna try to put that on the next meeting to get it officially approved to switch those out.
Okay. Just curious. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Next thing on our agenda is purpose of the Urban Systems Committee. I guess it's just a report from, looks like lots of people. We'll start with you.
Okay. Honorable Mayor, City Council.
So I'd just like to discuss the purpose and duties, or the powers and duties of the Urban Systems Committee. And so to start, I'd just like to go over the Municipal Code Section 2.56050, Powers and Duties. The powers and duties of the committee shall be in accordance with Wyoming Department of Transportation and federal guidelines. Local powers and duties concerns may be determined by resolution of the City Council. This committee shall be a transportation advisory committee to the local city and county governments for the Urban Systems Program, a cost-sharing program authorized by the Transportation Commission of Wyoming. The purpose of the committee is to evaluate the transportation needs of the urban area, compile and prioritize a list of potential improvement projects constrained by available federal and local matching grants, and submit said list to the appropriate governing bodies for their approval. And so, having attended a meeting as a member in January, I was able to see the content that was on the agenda, and I believe, in my opinion, that a lot of the material that's in the agenda is not directed necessarily by resolution of the City Council. I think that there may be opportunities to bring to the Urban Systems Committee by the City Council by resolution, according to the beginning of the section. But largely speaking, the purpose of the Urban Systems Committee is to take federal dollars that are allocated by WYDOT and then disperse those among the communities. And so the Urban Systems Advisory Committee's purpose in that sense is to distribute taxpayer dollars to fund projects for our city. And I feel strongly that the importance of being able to identify and collaborate with the municipality, the county, and with the state as to which projects need to be funded. It's so important to do that I think a lot of the items that are going before the Urban Systems Committee are actually putting a hamper on progress of the things that need to be really there and genuinely covered. And so I've discussed it at greater length with WYDOT engineers as well. And we do have opportunities on a monthly basis where if there are specific issues that we would like to have addressed in the city, like if there are specific stop signs, or if there are yield signs or different, thoroughfares, byways, tunnels, whatnot, we can have those discussed on a more local level. They come and meet with us here on a monthly basis, and we can have a meeting outside of Urban Systems. But I feel like those items have become so prevalent in the committee that we kind of oversaw. We missed a few things, I'm saying. We missed like the pedestrian underpass. I'm a little embarrassed to say that I was part of this where I said, well, we should fund the pedestrian underpass with the Urban Systems funding from WYDOT. Well, it had also been identified as a six-penny project. And so the project is receiving funds from two sources, where both sources were originally intended to fully fund the project. And so we're calling in, we're looking at stop signs and yield signs. We're dealing with millions of dollars from the Department of Transportation, and we're just not focusing on the things that really need to be focused on. And I feel strongly that we could take any of the smaller items and take them and move them to the more local level where we meet with WYDOT on a regular basis for discussion. However, if there are specific items that the council would like to address by resolution, the Urban Systems Advisory Committee is still there for you.
I don't know who entered. Councilman Smith, I guess, first.
Austin, I would like to go back historically on the underpass tunnel on 287. I think the 6 penny was meant to be the matching portion. I think we have to match that at 10%. And we did not what the engineering cost and the overall construction cost would be at the time that we put in the 6 penny. But just know that's not in there just as an overlap or duplication. It's
Okay.
to aid and abet that project.
Okay, that is good information. I really appreciate that. Makes me feel much better.
Okay.
So,
Yes, and it's been on that list for a long time, so I'm still hoping you guys are working on it.
yes, we are. It's been selected, and we're moving forward with the project. I don't have, at this time, I don't know if there is time to discuss the project, but it is moving forward, and we are looking at the pedestrian underpass. We are working on selecting the consultant for the design of the pedestrian underpass at Higley. So it is moving forward.
Councilman Martinez?
I want to thank you for bringing that information to us. I think that what happened in regard to taking these trailers off the street, it went to the urban system, passed 100%, brought back to this council when it was defeated, even though the urban systems agreed that the ordinance that I presented was a good ordinance. So having it come back sometime and it'll be done in this council chambers locally versus being done at the urban systems meeting is the right way to go. And when we bring it up here, then the public can know what took place.
Austin, have you discussed this with the chairman of that committee?
Yes, yeah. So
And who is that at this point in time?
I believe it's Judy.
Okay, we all know Judy.
Dixon, thank you. She's here. So,
Okay.
yeah, she's the current chair. Would you like to discuss anything? Sure. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. I just wanted to reinforce what Austin's saying here tonight and just put out a couple of particulars for you to consider. By statute, we only have to meet twice a year. So as he said, our purpose is to look at major funding issues in the city that YDOT and the city and the county work on together. So mostly highway issues kind of going through town, as well as the approach streets. What am I?
Yes.
The approach streets that we talk to. So yeah, when we have other things come to the council or come to the system, I don't know really where we all started doing that, but I do know that we've done it for a long, long time. And your point, Debari, is well taken because the urban systems is an advisory board. And so we don't have any decision-making authority. We just advise. And a lot of what comes to the committee, it ends up just coming back to the council as a recommendation. So, and you vote on it. So it really delays decision-making by referring some of these things to the Urban Systems Committee. And while we're happy to be a part of that, that's really not our main purpose. And meeting just twice a year, and well, although sometimes we bump it to 3 or 4, and we have 15 members. So that's the other concern is that getting a quorum, we just kind of hold our breath every meeting to make sure that we've got our quorum. So we just really do need to deal with what we're designed to deal with the issues of the urban systems and transportation in the city of Rollins. So that's just wanted to add that to it. Okay, sure.
Okay. You'll have to help guide us through what should and shouldn't go up sometimes, Austin. And, if we want to place something one place and it doesn't fit, you'll have to help us figure out where that should go.
Absolutely. I'd be happy
Because it's
to.
been done the other way for ever,
Understood.
20 years. Councilman Weisenberg?
Yeah, can we get some clarification on that 6 penny money for that? Because it's not on the 6 penny list
I think it was.
that I've been
It
provided.
isn't.
It's not on the list at all.
It was on the ballot.
Mayor, I don't have that ballot question with me tonight, but I do have it, and I'd be glad to send it
Yeah,
to you.
please.
Because I was shocked too when I saw it again, because it's very plainly on there in the middle. It's not high ranked, but it's in the middle.
And I thought so too, but I'm looking at a list that was provided by Sean. Sean, you provided us a list of 6 penny projects, and it's not on that list at all.
Okay.
So
I'll grab the ballot and send it
I'd appreciate it, thanks.
And that actually really dovetails well, because I see that we did have a reduction in the overall cost for the Six Penny projects from what was submitted, I think, to the Six Penny program. And I think that it does make sense that we did a matching grant. And so it'd be good to go back and take a look at that and see how that works out. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Thank you. All right, next thing on our agenda is department reports. Someone has to be first.
Honorable Mayor and City Council. First thing on our report is our second edition of the newsletter and recreation activity guide is off at the printer. It's actually going to be finalized early, so we're hoping it'll hit mailboxes next week. But in the meantime, you can go on the city main web page to get the entire newsletter. You can also go on the Recreation Center website and pull up the recreation activity guide to see all the great things that are happening in the city in the next few months. Golf course greens covers were removed. Opening day was Friday, April 15th. We've had some good usage, people coming out there. Sunday was a little rough because it was windy and colder, but people are out there. Because of the winter we had, we didn't have a lot of snow, and those greens covers kind of need snow and some moisture. They need cover. So when we opened the greens covers, they were probably better shape than they were last year because we did water diligently throughout the wintertime with our water truck, but not to where we were hoping they would be. So we are planning on firing up the irrigation beginning tomorrow. It's a little dry with the wind that we've received and the lack of weather. So we're going to be trying to get things up and rolling as soon as we can out there. We also met to inspect the cart paths. We need to make some repairs to the cart paths in certain areas. So we've prioritized different areas. And we're coming up with a plan. We have $50,000 allocated for cart path improvements, and we want to get every bit of that $50,000 we can. So we're trying to figure out, working with some consultants to figure out the best way of the use of that funding. Update on the restaurant out there at the golf course. You saw that it was originally an agenda item this evening as a discussion of a potential restaurant concessionaire. After further thought, they decided to back out and not at this point pursue operating a restaurant at the golf course. So in the meantime, we've been prepared. And several weeks ago, we talked to Mikhail, the health inspector, and got approved and amended our food license permit so that we can offer packaged sandwiches and breakfast sandwich, things like that, as long as it has the ingredients and the allergens listed on there. So we could potentially go to City Market and purchase from their refrigerator section some sandwiches and things like that to offer, as well as snacks and water, Gatorade, things like that, and even beer and wine. So at this point, we're going to move forward that direction so that at least golfers have food and snacks, and more importantly, water, Gatorade, things like that they can take out on the course for them until we can find a restaurant. We are actively pursuing a restaurant concessionaire. With this time going around, we've posted the RFP not only locally on our city website and the Rollins Times, but we've reached out to some other communities to try to get to expand our search. So I'll keep you informed if anything comes up there. Parks, I wanted to give you some great information. Thanks to Sean for sending it my way. Very soon, there's a family who's donated money to Bolton Park for several years. And so that money actually, I'm not sure the process, but it becomes the possession of the city very soon. And the amount is $100,000 that we can use for park improvements at Bolton Park. And there's all kinds of things we can consider. You know, we've had in the capital budget, we need to replace the restrooms. We have some landscape improvements. We might have some irrigation things to do. But before we even go there, we really enjoyed the success of our town hall meetings. City Manager Sean Metcalf is sort of shifting that direction as a great way to get community input. And I think the skate park and the dog park community meetings that were town hall meetings were a great example. So I see this as a great opportunity in the near future that we might host town hall meetings, say at Fire Station 2 that's on the south side down there, to gather community input and feedback on what they'd like to see this funding used for at Bolton Park. So that's good news, and some more information should be coming soon. Skate park update. A few meetings ago, council approved the expenditures and location for the skate park at Key Club Park. So we actively pursued the application process, the order form, and all that information. It's all in the works. We haven't had any hiccups or anything. Tyrell and I have met with a few contractors to look at a few minor issues with concrete. When you say minor and concrete these days, it's not minor, it's major. It's a lot of money right now. The cost has gone through the roof. So we're trying to be fiscal with our responsibility, but we also want to have a safe surface for skaters. So that's part of the process. The skate park equipment order is part of the process, but it's very likely that we will have the skate park installed and ready to go by possibly even mid-July. So we're very excited about that. For the parks, I believe we are going to look at firing up irrigation in the next week or two at the ball fields. Is that correct? And then the rest of the park system, it'll probably be 3 weeks or so before we start firing up the irrigation. The sports complex and the cemetery will be the first, and then the rest of the parks will follow. And then I don't know if you noticed when you came in, but the bulbs are popping up in front of City Hall, and there's some colors starting to happen in the last couple of weeks, and that's pretty exciting because that was a group effort with City of Rollins staff, University Extension, 4-H. So we had from young and older, and it was just a great kind of a community effort to get some color here at City Hall. Quick update on Shooting Range Advisory Board. We met last Wednesday, I believe. We talked about a Williams grant in the amount of $485, and then we also talked about a donation from Williams also of $1,000. We used that funding to assist with the 300-yard range and as well as the 1,000-yard range. We met just this Monday afternoon out at the shooting range to develop a kind of a maintenance plan and a task of what we need to do. Again, this is a great city to work for because we all work together, and so our parks department is stepping up to help the shooting range to get some things done. We need to fill some tires with some dirt, and we need to heighten the berm between the 300-yard range and the 1,000-yard range. And once again, community development department, public works department, willing to help with equipment and operators to help us get this stuff done. We also talked about the shooting barriers. So council approved in the current fiscal year budget to replace the shooting barriers at the shooting range, the indoor shooting range. So we're out to bid right now or very soon. And I think the bid opening is like June 2nd or something like that. And then we would bring that to council at the following meeting for consideration of approving the bid so that we can start that process. And the timing is great because we'll be moving to the outdoor range May 1st. So that means we have most of the summer to get that indoor shooting range barriers installed. We're also going to be replacing the flooring in the indoor shooting range. And remind you, because I believe we brought this to council, but we do have a Friends of the NRA grant out there for, I think, $30,000 that Patty Hayes, our recreation superintendent, wrote, I believe with the help of Andrea Hammond. And so we haven't heard yet back on that, but that's replacing the flooring in the actual office area and new countertops and all that kind of stuff. So some good things should be happening in the shooting range this summer. And then lastly, Golf Course Advisory Board, we met last night. We talked a little bit about the batteries in the golf course, and I think it's a little early to report much. We've had some potential concern last night that we feel better today. Some of the carts were coming back with a lower charge than we were hoping after 9 holes, but we've already seen some improvement, and I think they just really need to be charged and used and charged and used and sort of wake up from the winter time because they are new batteries. They were replaced last June or something like that. So we also talked about the retaining wall out at the golf course from the lake and hole, I think 6, maybe 7, somewhere out there. We got great news this morning, thanks to Austin back here, our city engineer has offered to lend his services so that we can reduce the next year's budget ask by $11,000, so we don't have to hire a consultant to work with us to figure out how to give us options on what type of retaining wall works, because I think there's several ways to stop that water from eroding those greens and fairways. So thank you, Austin. We are firing up irrigation tomorrow, starting at the golf course. I think I mentioned that before. And then just the last thing is a dog park update, but that is on the agenda for later tonight, so I'll hold off on that unless anybody has questions.
Councilman Smith?
I'd like to go back to Bolton Park, and this is just in the back of my mind, but I think we need to have legal counsel go back and check the language on the Bolton Park donation, because it was always my understanding, but just may be that I don't really know. But I think we were supposed to spend the interest off that and not the $100,000. But the other thing I would like to bring up, recently, I think it was John McPherson and Abe D. Herrera were talking about Bolton Park and the history of why that park is there. It's the Isadora Bolton family that donated the money. And the history is very, very, I'm going to say vivid, about how that came about and the Bolton family and all the interests that they had, that I think that we should have some kind of, I'd like to get that history to you that John provided, and maybe have some kind of memorial plaque put down there so that that is honored. So I just wanted to throw that out.
Councilman Martinez?
First of all, there's already a memorial plaque on there.
Oh, was there?
And it was put in there, 5 or 6 years ago. In regard to the spending of the money, it depends on what council's on board. We've had councils take that money and buy fertilizer for the entire park system. And then we've had some that say you can only use the interest off that money. So maybe that is something that we need to look at. Personally, I think that money should be used for a special project. Shouldn't be used for restrooms and things of that nature, because that's what the city is doing with the Washington Park and the other parks. So it all ought to be in one package from revenues from the city, not from the trust fund. So that's my take.
Sean?
Just as a point of information, the interest that we have on that 100,000 currently is at 64.73.
Okay.
$64.73.
6,400.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Wow, that's gonna go far. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. Just kind of go through this real quick. Utilities and Sewer Department, ongoing line locates, sewer calls, meter replacements, meter repairs. That's almost on a daily. Right now we're getting the pedestrian tubes cleaned up, inspected, going through those, making sure they're nice and clean for pedestrians this summer. We brought back in a whole bunch of rock to their sewer shop from all the repairs that we did, so that took about a day. There was, I think like 40,000 tons, I think, of rock we brought in. 300 tons? 200 tons, okay. But that was a big rock pile we had to get back in there. Checking and cleaning storm drain basins, training employees for service call outs, so that way our new employees can get used to service calls. So kind of take the load off of our older employees or the long-term ones. Prepping you, we're getting ready to start our summer sewer maintenance program. So we're getting all of our gear prepped and ready to go for starting to work on, I think it's the northeast side of town. We're gonna start all the sewer maintenance there. Streets department, we've been sweeping, trying to get the roads cleaned up through winter. That's in between our winter storms that we're still having. Still lots of sign repairs. We're training on all of our equipment as much as we can on any downtime, doing maintenance and training on that. We've been actually getting the hot mix plant prepped and ready to go. Been cleaning it, adding materials, supplies to get it going. We actually got it running this morning and got some hot patch mixed up and started replacing potholes today. It's a nice enough day. We've also been kind of working up in the Sage Creek project. We've been taking care of our service roads up there so the progress can keep going forward for any project or the construction company getting in and out of there, making it easier for them. So our streets department has been keeping really busy lately. Wastewater and water treatment plants, both of them are running really good. Just general maintenance going on, nothing too out of whack. It's always a good thing to hear. Our spring flows right now, we're at 967 to 970 GPM, so we're up about 100 GPM from about a month ago. So we are getting more water in. That's still only about 1.3 million gallons a day, so we're still on the low side of water coming in for this time of year, and I think it's just because we don't have the snowpack out there in Sage Creek Basin. It's really low.
When it's running at full capacity, what's it run at? Do you know?
Usually it's like 1,200 GPM.
Okay.
12 to 1,400 is a good year.
And then is that just the springs, or is that the
That's
entire?
just the springs
Okay.
can do that. Yeah, that's not wells. We're still keeping our tanks topped off just in case, so everything's full. We got peaking full. We're still bringing up river water to Atlantic Rim, getting it filled. We do have a call on the river right now that we're dealing with, but we still have rights to some CFM of water that's coming off there, so we are being able to irrigate and fill Atlantic Rim still. So all that's going pretty good. The Sage Creek project, it kind of got put on hold for about a week and a half now. I think we're on hold. The snow melt up there turned it into a muddy mess, and the construction company buried 2 excavators trying to get each other out. So we, instead of destroying anything out there, land, equipment, or anything else, we decided to put a hold on it for a week to let the wind and sunshine dry it out. And Austin was just out there today, this afternoon actually, and he said it's looking pretty good out there. So project should get started up within a week or less. So, any questions?
You got a lot going on.
I can do some more.
Don't say that.
Honorable Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, and council members. Earlier today, I sent you an email asking for your input on what you'd like to hear about from your police department. I'm concerned that you get the information that you need and that you want, and just as concerned that I'm not presenting information that's not of value to you. If I may, I'd like to ask that you just consider and then just get back to me whenever you get a chance, and I can tailor the presentation as needed. I'm going to burn through some numbers here real quick. Last month, the numbers in reference to calls we received at our communications center, 321 as opposed to 336 the month before. Telephone calls, 1,008 as opposed to 1,285 the month before. Dispatch calls last month, 549 as opposed to 622 the month before. Fire-related calls, last month 37, the month before 39. Ambulance calls, 53 last month as opposed to 48 the month before. Animal-related calls, last month 39 as opposed to 54 the month before. Code enforcement, as always, has been busy. This past month, he conducted 4 liquor license compliance checks. He initiated 6 property calls that were related to multiple issues. 2 cases involving abandoned or derelict vehicles. 2 cases involving garbage or refuse. 1 involving snow removal. 22 cases total opened. 14 cases closed. 8 were follow-ups from previous months. He also was involved in the delivery of 29 liquor licenses throughout the city. He has ongoing property issues in the process that all involve multiple issues that he's continuing to work on. I've mentioned to you before that he's been working on derelict vehicles on the east side of the city. That is ongoing. So far, he has issued courtesy notices that just notify the property owners that there are issues. After that, he issues an official notice of a violation and compliance request in an effort to get the property owners to self-correct the issues. This is an ongoing issue. They are showing some signs of improving. They've been moving, all three of the properties that we started with on the east side have started moving vehicles out. It's still going to be an ongoing process, and he's heavily involved in working on that. Miscellaneous and community engagement for last month. We had purchased stop sticks, which are used to end vehicle pursuits with some of the impact funds. They were delivered. The entire department, or most, have received training from the Highway Patrol. We had a good time out on 71 south of town. Only 3 officers fell down during the training. Surprisingly, I wasn't one of them. A number of us went to boards training that was conducted by the interim city attorney. Those of us that attended are on city boards or committees. Several of us attended a Wyoming Pipeline Association Emergency Responders and Public Officials meeting that was at the Jeffrey Center. There were several meetings of the Carbon County Prevention Network that I'm a part of that. And then we went to 2 trainings that were put on by Lenny Lehman and C4. One of them was Critical Infrastructure Security and Resilience Awareness, and the other one was Threat Hazard Risk Assessment. In terms of calls, so far to date in 2022, I'll give you the top 10 number of calls that the Rollins City Police Department has handled. Number 1 is traffic violations, rolling in at about 27%. Number 2, animal calls. Number 3, assisting other agencies. Number 4, calls for checking the welfare of individuals. Number 5 is officers checking areas of concern that are reported to us. 6, property damage accidents. 7, ambulance calls. 8, motorist assists. 9 are civil matters, and 10 is parking complaints. Any questions?
When you say the east end, you're talking the industrial?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Martinez?
In regard to derelict vehicles, on the south side, on the west side of the overpass, that salvage yard is getting larger. You might want to keep an eye on it.
Is that the one on Bennett?
That's the one on Jackson.
Okay.
And that's been on for some time, and I've reported it. It's getting larger. Pretty soon we'll be fighting with that salvage yard to get moved. If they were following the Title 19, I believe is it Title 18? And when the one that deals with derelict vehicles, we shouldn't have a problem. That one started with like 3. There must be about 7 or 8 out there now.
Okay. I am not aware of whether or not the code enforcement officer has that complaint. May I ask
That's usually
that you?
the problem.
Okay. May I ask you reach out to me so I can get the exact address and we can make sure that we get it addressed?
Will do.
Thank you, sir. No? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Honorable Mayor and Council, we continue to advance business initiatives in the city. The project on the west side of town is moving forward. Starbucks seems to be coming along, and 307 horse racing is really close to being in full operation. We have other projects in the works that are not yet public. I'll be excited to share more when I can. Since my last report, we had 2 grants decisioned by SLIB. And the yays and nays of the meeting only tell part of the story, so I'd like to report a little bit more on some of the feedback that we received from that board. With the emergency water grant, of course, we were disappointed with the decision there to decline our application. This is the city's 2nd grant that's declined by SLIB on the basis of not meeting an emergency standard or definition. Therefore, if the city were to ever consider pursuing another SLIB emergency grant, I would strongly recommend that we focus on what constitutes an emergency to SLIB and thoroughly highlight and explain how our project or need meets that standard. SLIB did offer some ideas and suggestions that for other funding options. We've continued to research and explore financing options to address the city's source water needs. The good news out of this SLIB meeting is that the Economic Development Planning Grant was approved, but we did get some feedback there as well, which I think is beneficial. The state auditor brought up a question of if our planning grant would cover housing and housing needs in the city. Certainly, our housing has a large impact on our ability to recruit businesses and workforce. So that will be a component of our economic development plan. The other feedback from the governor, who's the chair of the board, was an encouragement to work with the town of Sinclair. I think that working with our neighbors throughout the county is a good idea just on a sales tax basis, but that was one item of feedback. And then the last was from the state treasurer, an encouragement to really take a look at our zoning laws and our ordinances, which he referred to our zoning laws as archaic. So I think that in our effort to become truly business friendly, we're getting a lot of great pieces in place, but my biggest takeaway here is kind of back to, as I reflect back to initial conversations I was having with Sean, our need to really get our house in order, that we need to create a great experience from beginning to end for developers, for entrepreneurs, for businesses, and really have processes in place that allow developments to move forward quickly. So that's my report. Any comments or questions? Thank you.
I was going to ask.
Just a minute, Nate.
Nate, I was going to ask you in regard to SLIB. In my opinion, we should have had letters out to the legislators. We should have had letters out to the county that participated in this C4 when we had the emergency. We should have had letters from Sinclair, the mayor of Sinclair. And when we went to SLIB, we could have showed them that this was an emergency. That some of the stuff that they suggested that you do aren't an emergency. That broken line out there was an emergency. We nearly lost the hospital, and without that water, we're going to be in trouble.
Yep.
Okay.
There was numerous learning lessons that we have taken from the meeting and from the results. We're looking toward the next SLIB meeting that they will review a regular grant, not an emergency grant. But ultimately, in my observation, one of the most beneficial takeaways will be to focus our entire narrative, our entire approach, our application, everything around how the request meets the organization's mission and purpose for that grant and so forth. We're talking regularly about that June SLIB meeting and really doing our best to put together as strong of a case as we can.
Thank you.
Councilman Smith.
And I think Austin has more to add about SLIB if he could.
Could I ask you something though, Nate? In all of this advice that we got from those 5 officials, did they even let you folks know if there's any funding there for a loan to match whatever we come back with for what we would accept or offer to take our 1.2 down to whatever we can get from them? Are they offering to match that with any kind of loan, or do they have any loan money available?
A lot of the recommendations and advice from SLIB didn't particularly include requesting money from SLIB. That, in other words, looking to other organizations to meet our need. one element that feedback we've gotten from SLIB is that they have only so much money, I think to the tune of roughly $5 million, but they have some 28 applications slated for June that represent requests for like 11 million. So I guess long story short, no, they didn't give any feedback as far as pursuing loans through SLIB, but we're well aware that there's other agencies like USDA that we could look into options, but
Could somebody find out if there's any loan money there before we send back papers on, so we know what we are proposing back to them?
loan money from SLIB?
Yes, if there's even feasible to do
I
that,
will-
because they used to do this. Now I don't know where all their infrastructure money went to, but 5 million is from their coffers. It doesn't speak to the other millions that's going through their hands. So I'd like to find out where all this stuff is.
I will find out and get an answer
Or
to you.
is, whatever. Thank you.
May I speak?
Sure.
Honorable Mayor, Council. I would just like to add to what Nate Davison was saying here that on June 2nd, we're going to have another opportunity to go and with the advice from the Honorable Mayor and from yourself and anybody else on the City Council, we're going to move forward with making a revision to our application for the June 2nd meeting. They've allowed us to do that, and we're moving forward with that. They said that we don't need to do an additional resolution. We did the resolution back in February before the water crisis, and we're getting another opportunity. So mark your calendars. I think we should all get in a bus and head over to Cheyenne. What do you think?
Do you know where they didn't tell staff where we could come back at for a number to reduce our request to, did they?
So I did speak with Shauna Perkins, the loan officer, and the information that I gleaned from her was she can't give us any real direction on that. And so to move forward, I recommend that we follow the experience of the people who have been successful in getting SLIB applications approved historically. And I believe our mayor has suggested some numbers, and I believe that he has some really good numbers that he's suggested for us to go forward with.
And you think, I know what that number is. Are you comfortable with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Sean. Another takeaway from that meeting that the thing that they got hung up more than anything was just, they said it's not an emergency because we haven't raised our rates in a long time. That was what they said. If we had done it one time in between, then we're showing that due diligence. They started with that, like you could see from the very beginning, it seemed like a no-go, and then at the end, they repeated the same thing. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention is, because just from council's feedback, I have visited with Andrea and asked that whenever we have an application out there and we can find out what day, we're gonna be in front of a committee, she'll send, if you would all like this, we can send a calendar invite to all of you. And then if you'd like to attend, if you wanna, rally together and put some, the things that we were just talking about together, then you'll have that as soon as we're aware when we have those meetings. So she said that's the plan, so hopefully that helps.
Thank you.
Councilman Martinez.
In response to what you said, I don't know how much power it would be for the council all to show up to SLIB board. When I was the mayor, we went down with about 4 of us. We got the same answer from SLIB as the mayor got when he went up there. You need to raise your water rates and things of that nature. This time we got the response that it wasn't an emergency. And we damn near lost the hospital. Businesses were shut down and lost revenue. They can't tell me that isn't an emergency, and I think it's very, very important that we get letters out from our legislators, a letter from the county commissioners, a letter from the town of St. Clair, and we take those or get them to whoever their secretary is at that SLIB board, and so that they get copies of them so that they know the kind of problems that we have. I think that would work a lot better. In my opinion, that's my take on that.
Nate?
We are already collecting those letters for the June 2nd.
I appreciate that, thank you.
And Mayor, could I just say I'm planning to go?
Okay, who's next? Lucky Lou.
Making his way up here slowly. Honorable Mayor and Council, in the community development side, we've been working on Title 19. We're needing to get a quorum together so we can put the flat work and the building codes and get moving forward with them. Little work on the West End project. We got a meeting with the project coordinator and their engineer on Thursday. We get to meet them finally, other than email and phone calls, so they'll be in town. We have a work session scheduled for Thursday with the Board of Adjustments and the Planning and Zoning to discuss the changes in Title 19 and Title 16. And to touch on what Nate said with the Starbucks location, I've sent some emails and I haven't received any response, but we see flags out there with WLC doing the work. So where it's at, I have no idea. But every time we see some new flags out there, there's a little glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel. Currently, our recycle center, we're revamping our drop-off location. We started working on a 17-yard bin. So now we're going to have 3 plastic and paper bins and 2 cardboard bins. So right now it's working out really nice for the recycle crew. If you ever stop in, you can see them bins in there and people jumping out, and it's really amazing on what they're doing and how the recycle center is looking. As far as facilities, poor Stephanie, we had to do some revamping on her wall in her office, so that's work in progress. And our facilities people are staying busy with their daily duties. Everybody's really busy, so the only time I see them really is when they have problems. But other than that, that's all I have. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Councilman Smith?
Lou, this is not intended to embarrass you, but I needed to know this because it came up at another organizational meeting that I was at. The downtown's been working with 307 on location and all that kinds of things. But why was that not on the last planning and zoning meeting? Was there, I understood they submitted the paperwork at least 3 weeks prior to that meeting. Was there notice issues, or can you tell me, because it's holding them back 45 days?
Right, and we've tried to get a special meeting to move the process forward. But with our boards, it's hard to get, well, in fact, it was brought up. We'd like to have a special meeting to move this project forward. Nobody was for a special meeting. They felt if it was a life safety issue, that then they could see having a safety meeting. But as far as the signatures were there, it was just, the process. And then I really think that we need to have more board training, because this is a process, and I know Nate was questioning on why we have the items in place that we do have. It's just the rules to cover the city portion of it, because if you don't advertise, and if you ask for a variance, or if you ask for anything different that's what's stated in the code, then there will be 1 or 2 people that come out and say, why weren't we notified of this?
Well, they contended that they sent their paperwork in at least 3 weeks prior to the planning and zoning meeting, and it didn't go on the agenda for some reason. That's the #1 complaint. And so just because of, and I also understand there may be some prohibition in your rules and regulations that may keep you from doing that. But could you take a look at that and see if there's anything at all that we could do? Because we're prohibiting this business from opening for 45 days. And that's a chunk of money for them. It's potential revenue eventually for the city of Rollins and some other potential beneficial things that they could do for the downtown. And I don't want us to do special favors, but I do want us to see if there's anything under the law that we can do to help this project out.
Right, and our next step was to have that special meeting, Councilman Smith, and due to the board members, unless it was a life safety issue, then
Okay, thank you for letting me.
you bet.
I'd like to speak on that because I am on that board, and it was determined that in the bylaws it states that if it's a life and safety issue instance or anything to the community, then it constitutes a special use permit or a special meeting. Sorry, but this didn't pertain to that, and there's not going to be. No one on the board was willing to have a special meeting. They're all volunteers. They have other things going on in their lives too. And with the paperwork aspect of things, my understanding was they didn't get it in time to meet the deadlines to be on the agenda of that meeting. Otherwise, they would have been. So we have certain days for meetings set for that. It's not our fault that they didn't get that in, and I mean it isn't a great experience for them, but that's what bylaws and stuff are for. So, and we've set forth that we're going to follow those, and that's how it's going to be.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Honorable Mayor and Vice Mayor and Council, I have the reports for the Rollins Fire Department. Currently, year to date, we're at 1,248 hours of training. And that's not including one of our firefighters that's currently in a 2-week hazardous materials technician course down in Pueblo, Colorado. Year to date, for this year, we were at 310 calls. Last year, at this time, we were at 274, so we're seeing a little bit of a uptick from that. And then currently, including the building official and the fire department's inspections, we're sitting at about 250 inspections between both building official and our side as building inspections for the year. That's all I have for you guys if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks. Anybody next? I'm going to call a 10-minute recess.
We're going to, like it or not. Thank you.
We have a picture first or second?
Huh?
Yes. That's gone. No. We got it over the side. Excuse me, sir. You can ask Dan.
To remove it.
Yeah, it should be because it's from the whole problem.
You know, I thought it would be that the room was big, but the room strong. That was what we recommended by. Yeah, that's right.
I think so.
That blows my mind. I did. I was gonna tell you. That was changed a little bit. Yeah, that wasn't. Did you bring that up? Discussion, you said regularly could do some tokens? No, that was Chief Ward.
Oh, I thought you did.
No. Yeah, I was gonna tell you that this meeting. Yeah.
Water.
Pay water. We shouldn't be giving free, this is too much for property owners.
But what stops you now?
It's unlimited, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. They can just, but I still think it has to clean up the community. And I think we did the outreach. Thanking the public, thanking the public for paying the water bills.
Yeah, that was Chief who brought that.
Oh, was it? I thought it was you.
And I think Chief and Aaron, I think both like that. It's,
I just wanted to see that you got credit if you were to do
oh
that.
no, yeah, I was I'm confused. Is it for not having it, or is it for doing the vouchers and not having it?
Oh, no.
And so I was like,
Somebody said tokens, and I thought, you know, these little tokens. I
Yeah.
thought, oh, they can easily do it, get a piece of paper, put it in
Yeah.
the water bill envelope.
Here you go. Yep.
Okay, I thought.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, those are the guys who need the credit.
Yeah, okay.
Not much, you.
Yes, thank you. That's fine. Thanks.
The way it looks, yeah.
Just a reminder, we're live, we stay live with sound.
I'll talk to you. I'll get all the items at the meeting and just kind of explain because that's your guess? I'm gonna give us 11:45. Sorry. Yep.
So, Green River's up there.
Yeah, Saturday. River teams. We got soccer today. Snow up there.
My son can do the 100. He tried last time. It's snowshoe.
We're still harping about that stop sign in that deal. We want it removed. Is that what it?
You know,
To me, I think it's working. It ain't hurting the damn thing.
well, I don't think that's the one. I think the one that the one that I'm pushing for is the one down there on that street.
Trucks.
For the trucks.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They don't need to be stop signs.
No, I agree.
And that's all I
I
want.
think they're talking about.
No.
Hey, they already changed that sign.
Yeah, that one's already been changed to
I see they got.
The stop sign from
the
coming
underpass.
that hill or whatever.
Well, the stop signs from the asphalt plant down need to be yield signs, because 200 cars per truck, I'm telling you.
But they were changed to yield signs.
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, they're still stop signs.
Oh, I thought you were saying that they had changed it.
The one by the underpass was changed from a white illegal yield sign to a red legal one.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
But the ones on the other, coming down off railroad tracks, those are still stop signs, and they should be yield signs.
So, I mean, I guess how long would that take? 'Cause didn't we, I thought that was agreed to.
I thought so too, but
It went to Board of Adjustments.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for reminding us.
We'll do like that, see everybody puts their arms a little bit different.
yeah,
Jackie, you're a calendar girl.
yeah. All right.
Are we taking
about
our
ready?
pictures or what?
I think that she legitimately wants us to go forward
We
with some
need to
kind
do
of
our
a picture.
photos, guys.
So I think she wants to do that and then we'll resume.
Someone that ain't here.
Where's she at?
You can't find the camera.
She left.
Back to order before she comes back.
No, she put it
Might
down
be.
somewhere, she can't find it.
I don't know what this is for. I really don't. I thought they were just busting in for yours and then suddenly we were all on it.
along. Always back in the bus.
Yeah, come here.
I'm getting.
We could do two in the front. It could be like one. Or tomorrow, you could go over there by Jack. Okay, make sure you're in your windows, especially Mayor. Okay, cheese. You love being on council. Okay. Well, really quickly, I mean, I basically feel like
I don't want to see it. Reverse. You should be up there.
Sorry.
All right.
Enough of Myra's games.
All right, the next thing on our agenda is the, I will call this meeting back to order. Excuse me, sorry about that. Next thing on our agenda is the city manager's report.
Okay, thank you. So the department head group has met twice now. The first time that we met, we went through all of the capital items from the last time that we met with council on the budget. We have reprioritized the capital items. We looked at the carry forwards and reprioritized the carry forwards as well. So we're ready to bring some official recommendations that are, this is the bare minimum that we need to kind of move forward into the next fiscal year. We went through the impact assistance together, and we did identify some of those that we can pull out of the current funding and then reallocate it for some things that are more of need. So we'll bring that to you as well soon. And then the budget, I asked everyone to basically bring the budget down to just the bare essentials basically. And so everyone has done a really excellent job of doing that. I was just putting together a spreadsheet today just to see what the totals were, and I've almost got that ready. But I think I'm guessing a bit further than what Dan Izzo suggested of trying to get those supplies and different things down. We still have the same approach that we want to do the least impact employees, entirely. And the goal is if we can get those costs down, then if we can maybe grab some positions that we feel like we can do without moving forward, that we take an attrition approach so that we don't harm any employee. And so that, I think, I really appreciate the work that's gone into this. They've done a really, seriously, an excellent job. So I will be working on putting that together. The goal is that by this Friday, you should be able to come and pick up the budget, if I can get everything inputted there. We'll reprioritize the impact assistance, the capital, and I'll provide a summary sheet of everything that happened since the last time we met to now, so that you don't have to dig through it. You'll have it all at your fingertips. So that's where we're at with the budget. I made an offer to a finance director, which is really exciting. I'm not sure if he officially accepted it, but I think that he indicated to me that he was going to. So I'll just kind of leave it at that until it's official, but just wanted you to know I'm really excited about the person that we may have here. So, and we'll give you a lot more information when I know it's official. We have, just as a reminder, Urban Systems is this Thursday at 10 a.m. And then also, we're doing a test on YouTube tonight for the sound, because that's been a huge issue. And supposedly the sound is amazing for everyone that's listening. So that's good news.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
that's all I got.
All right, thank you. Next thing on the agenda is the city attorney report.
Good evening, Mayor, councilpersons. I have been responding to individual questions from the council. I hope that I have been responding in a decent time for you. If there is anything you would like to see me do differently, please let me know. I definitely want to be here for you and give you what is useful for you. I spend most of my days responding to department head issues and working through contracting and different things like that. And we are trying to get a lot of the ordinances up to date so that we can bring them to you to be able to read through and vote on. And that's where my priorities are right now. If anybody has any other ideas or plans, please let me know.
Okay, thank you. All right, next thing on our agenda is city or council reports and direction to city manager or city attorney. Does anybody have anything?
I do, Mayor.
Councilman Martinez?
I have gotten some requests for water taps out south. It's my understanding that at one time we put a moratorium on them. That moratorium would have to be changed by the council. So sometime down the line, I would like to get on the agenda and bring that before you folks, so you have some heads up and look into it.
Okay, anybody else? I have taken a few minutes just to write down a few things. They're called my thoughts about SLIB and what we need to do when we apply for SLIB loans. This is just food for thought. And if everybody who gets one of these has any better ideas or more ideas to add, I'm sure it would be appreciated. But I've made several of these. I had Linda proofread it. Linda and I both have been through this process, I don't know how many times.
Years.
And I think some of these things might help put things in a better order. Sorry it's taken me so long, I'm not good at this. But these are just some of the things we've done in the past that have helped secure SLIB loans. And it talks about who to involve, you know, the letters, who all we can get solicitations from, and you know, other councils, would you? Other councils, the commissioners. Like when we go to SLIB, it would be very helpful to have letters of support from our legislators, whether they be representatives or senators. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but if you would just please take a few minutes and read through that, and I believe it'll help. It's kind of an outline, so if you have anything that is missing, add to it, and please use it. I hope it helps. Anybody else? That's all I got. Councilman Martinez.
I just want to say thank you for the letter, and I do support it 100%. I see a name that should be on here. I think a letter to the governor's office letting them know of our problems with our water system in Rollins would help. This would be a good time to do it.
All right. Any questions about that? All right. Any other council person got anything? All right. The next thing we're going to move to is the ordinance, second reading of an ordinance. Do I have a motion?
There isn't a motion.
Oh.
Yeah, there's not a motion.
Where's the motion?
It's a second reading.
It's second reading.
Just make it.
There is a motion, but it's marked.
Right where it says subject is
Yeah, I can do it.
Councilman Smith.
I move that we approve the second reading and waive the reading of the Municipal Code revision to Title 9, Section 9.28.020 regarding tobacco sales to minors.
Second.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve the second reading and waive the reading of Municipal Code revision to Title 9, Section 9.28.020 regarding tobacco sales to minors. Is there any discussion? Councilman Smith?
Yeah, going back on this, it was pointed out by Councilman Weisenberg that this is supposed to just be discussion, but the way it's put on here, it should be the second reading.
It is I did mark, it didn't get marked as an action item when I
Thank
put
you.
it in, so I just changed it so it is an action item, so I do apologize for the error.
Thank you, so my motion still stands.
Correct.
I apologize.
Any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Who was second?
I did.
So you'll have to do a voice because of the way I had originally set this up on the thing, so.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I'm sorry.
No worries. The next thing on the agenda is approve payroll. It's on here twice. Is there two payrolls?
There's two different ones.
Okay. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve the March 13, 2022 through March 26, 2022 payroll register for $243,261.43.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the March 13th, 2022 through March 26, 2022 payroll register for $243,261.43. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting is closed. The motion passes with 7 yeas.
All right, the next thing on our agenda is another approval of payroll. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve the March 27, 2022 through April 9, 2022 payroll register for $240,191.55.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the March 27th, 2022 through April 9th, 2022 payroll register in the amount of $240,191.55. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting is closed. The motion passes with 7 yeas.
Okay, thank you. Next thing on our agenda is accounts payable. Councilman Smith.
I move to approve the accounts payable register for the period of March 25, 2022 to April 11, 2022 in the amount of $617,564.56.
Second.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve the accounts payable register for the period of March 25th, 2022 to April 11th, 2022 in the amount of $617,564.56. Is there any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting is closed. The motion passes with 7 yeas.
All right, thank you. The next thing on the agenda is item D, which is transfer of a retail liquor license. Councilman Smith.
I move to postpone the approval of the transfer Cappy's K&J Inc., DBA Cappy's Restaurant Retail Liquor License 93 to Cappy's Inc., DBA Cappy's Restaurant Retail Liquor License number 93. And then I'll explain.
Do I hear a second?
For the purpose of discussion, I'll second that.
Okay. Any, there's been a motion made and seconded to, did you say postpone?
Yes.
Postpone the transfer of Cappy's K&J Inc., DBA Cappy's Restaurant Liquor License number 93 to Cappy's Inc., DBA Cappy's Restaurant Retail Liquor License number 93. Any discussion? Councilman Smith?
Yes, regrettably, this came up this afternoon. We thought we were just going to do a standard transfer with no issues. And I know the Kramers are here too, and I would like them to address whatever they feel like addressing. But what we were told is the Wyoming Liquor Division has notified the city clerk, which under 2017 laws of the state, that's been remanded to the city to handle all the liquor licenses. And so what they have said is that the assignment and transfer of the liquor license was not done on the paperwork that they felt was necessary. So they need to have a different assignment and transfer liquor license. So if anybody else would like to chime in and give us some direction and stuff, I would appreciate it.
Jeff?
Yes, I would like to know, I've been pursuing this since February. I've done everything that's been asked from me. I have stayed in touch with Lynn on a weekly basis, and I've done everything she has asked me to do. I have contacted my attorneys, and he has went to the state, and I got a green light through them as long as all the paperwork was done right. And my question is, with my loss of revenue, who's to blame for this? Because I've done everything on my end. Is it Lynn's fault that I get the wrong paperwork? What happened there? Because, and last fall, I was informed 30 seconds before this meeting started. So I really didn't have to be here if this was gonna be the case. Now, 80% of you are my customers and my friends. I've done everything you've asked me to do. And I just don't understand, where is this the blame?
I don't have an answer to that.
Wendy, could you address that for us?
I cannot address the issue of blame, but I can address the issue with the paperwork.
Thank you.
One of the forms that is required is called a new or transfer liquor license or permit application. It is a document provided by the liquor division. It is a form that has to be filled out and submitted. From what I've reviewed with the documents, rather than doing that form, the parties attempted to do a limited power of attorney to transfer what they mistakenly called property, which is the City of Rollins Retail Liquor License number 93. First, a liquor license is not property, and it is not actually owned by any of the parties. It is owned by the City of Rollins. Therefore, the parties cannot use a power of attorney to transfer use of that. They have to use the actual liquor license transfer of authority. So the document that we have that is notarized and signed is not valid for the purposes that they are trying to use it for. This was brought to me to review. That was my determination earlier today when it was brought to me, and that is what is missing, is that form to officially transfer.
Was that form included in the application that they have been given?
It would have been from the Wyoming State Division, right?
That's from the State Liquor Division.
Tina, you had your hand up.
I'm just wondering, she said that an application was not filled out to the state of Wyoming. Did I understand that right or no? What you said, would you repeat that again? What was not sent to the state of Wyoming?
Sure, what I have is that you tried to transfer using a power of attorney instead of the actual transfer form from the liquor division.
I was never asked to give an application. I went through Lynn for everything. And she has told me what the state of Wyoming Liquor Division has told her. So any application that was to be filled out, Lynn has told me what I needed. The power of attorney was only in place for the lease agreement between Cappy's K&J and Cappy's Inc. That was so we thought that it made the transfer go, but we were not using that in any way, shape, or form to have it turned back to us. So if there was a form to be filled out that the state of Wyoming should have needed, I feel that Lynn should have told us this is where it's at. This is what I've taken everything to her to be approved, to say, this is, to have today say that you get your license back.
Can you assure us as of Thursday that this was a go?
So the form that we're talking about is a limited power of attorney and a lease agreement that was provided to me. And the Kramer stated that in March 31st that everything would revert to them, the liquor license itself. I presented this to when I sent this up, I sent this to the liquor division, and then they gotten back to me today stating that this is not compliant, that they do need a transfer, what the Kramers actually had done to the Johnstons when they had originally done the when they originally had transferred their liquor license, they had this form. So when the Kramers actually had transferred ownership back in October 7th of 2020, they had put this together, assignment of transfer of liquor license. And this is what the state requires. It is a document so it was prepared, it was notarized by Sherry Schindlinger, who was I think she was a clerk at the time that this was done. So when the Kramers had come to me in February, they had presented this document to myself, the limited power of attorney and then the lease. And they stated to me that as of March, they presented it to me this in February, and that at the end of March, the liquor license would automatically revert to them. So like I said, I sent this up with their application of transfer to the liquor division. This form is required by the liquor division. It's 4 pages. I presented that, it's notarized, and then also their financial statement.
Okay, Lynn, is that the same form that Wendy is speaking of?
Yes.
So that is the application for a transfer?
Yes, this is
So
official liquor.
what is the state, because you had sent the other form?
I sent these documents
Okay,
out.
but my question is this, why isn't that acceptable to the state if they've already done the application?
Okay, so this here is what the state is having an issue with, is a limited power of attorney. And like Wendy stated just a moment ago, it states in here that it's a property. They are changing the property, that at the end of March, it would revert back to the Kramers. And like Wendy stated just a moment ago, a liquor license is not property. So this is voided. And then that's what they explained to me, and then they asked me to send it to have our attorney review it, and she agreed with this.
Vice Mayor Wells.
Do we have the authority to approve contingent on the document?
That was my question.
It is the
I
city's
feel like-
liquor license, and the council can assign or remove the liquor license at their pleasure.
Because I feel like we've made accommodations for other liquor license holders. And this is just a formality that we could approve contingent on this one form.
There's one other option. We have a meeting next week. We could add this to the agenda for next week. If we can get all that paperwork to and from Cheyenne.
I don't believe it would be inappropriate for the council to approve the transfer pending the paperwork, because it is a form that can be signed, notarized, and sent in.
I thought they already did that way back when, and it's just the state's hung up on their power of attorney, which is not our issue. And it is causing loss of revenue. This is a formality, and we've had this issue come down on hold orders on other people's licenses that some of it was different issues, but we've got to take care of our people. So I will rescind my motion and make a new motion that we approve the transfer of Cappy's K&J Inc., DBA Cappy's Restaurant Retail Liquor License Number 93 to Cappy's Inc., DBA Cappy's Restaurant Retail Liquor License Number 93, contingent upon the state receiving the appropriate paperwork, and at that time when the state releases that, then they can transfer their liquor license.
I'll second that.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve the transfer of Cappy's K&J Inc., DBA Cappy's Restaurant Retail Liquor License Number 93 to Cappy's Inc., DBA Cappy's Restaurant Retail Liquor License Number 93, contingent upon the liquor authority receiving the application. And that's where you lost me, sorry.
What she said.
What she said, yeah. I second that. Yes, Councilman Durst?
Hey, Wendy.
Yes, sir.
So if we do this, I guess I just want to make sure of how this is actually functioning in the real world. So right now, they will not have the liquor license available to them. As soon as the state receives the paperwork, then because we're authorizing this tonight, as soon as the state says back to, hey, we got this and we approve it, then by default, they're automatically legal and able to have the liquor license, rather than getting the paperwork and coming back in 2 weeks. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we're not authorizing it that they can operate with that liquor license until the paperwork is received.
That's correct. It would be just like lifting a hold for taxes. Until we receive the release of hold, the liquor license can't
But we
be
want them
used.
to go the second that release, okay.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
Jeff?
Yes, my last question is, where would I receive the proper paperwork this time?
I am more than happy to draft the proper paperwork to help them get the license straightened out. if
Thank
that's
you, Wendy.
acceptable to the
Okay.
council.
I think that would be very appropriate.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilman Weisenberg, did you have something?
Yeah, I guess I'm confused as to, you said it's hung up in the word property. It's an asset, which could be meaning of a property. I don't get that.
The legal definition of property does not apply to a license that is not actually owned by the person. It's owned by the city. It would be like me telling somebody, hey, you can go use Chris's car. I don't own it. I can't tell somebody they can go use it.
It's legal definition.
Wow, it's just
Yeah.
crazy. I'm just over dealing with the liquor division. They either need to give us it all or take it all. That's what they need to do. They need to stop pushing all the junk back on the local municipalities, and I'll be calling our representative again.
Or just communicate with the city, that would be nice too.
Jeez.
Well, it puts us in a difficult
It does,
situation.
and we're put in it every other month, it seems.
And it's unfair
So
to
are we
people
ready
trying
for
to
a
do
vote?
business.
Do we have the motion right, or are we ready?
They're working on it.
I think they're fine tuning the words right now.
Yeah, thank you.
So that it legally says
Sure.
what we wanted to.
Yeah, I just had to stop the free-for-all.
Mm.
While we're waiting for that to be finished, I would like to thank the Kramers for your patience and working with us on this issue.
Online voting is open. Online voting is closed and motion passes with 7 yeas.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
thank you.
patience.
All right, next thing on our agenda is a bid proposal on a ambulance. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve the new ambulance bid for a 2023 North Star 153-1 ambulance on a 2023 Ford F-350 4x4 ambulance prep diesel chassis in the amount of $237,886 from Braun Northwest Inc. of Chalice, Washington.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the new ambulance bid for a 2023 North Star 153-1 ambulance on a 2023 Ford F-350 4x4 ambulance prep design chassis in the amount of $237,886 from Braun Northwest Inc. of Chalice, Washington. Any discussion, Chief?
Not the
Chief
chief.
substitute.
But if you want to appoint me, no. Basically, that is the bid we received, the only bid we did receive. Since this has been put into board docs, they've actually received the ambulance. The hospital has received their ambulance. They had them contract one for them. They've received it here in the last week. Myself, Chief Schumacher, Battalion Chief Robinson have all laid eyes on it, kind of gone through it. The hospital's very pleased with it, and this ambulance would basically be a mirror image or a twin to the one that was already been made for the hospital for interoperability purposes and cohesion between both agencies. It looks like a very nice rig. It's set up the way the end user wants to be. We want to use it, and it looks like it's something that would work out very well for us. I can also answer any questions if you guys have them.
Does anybody have any questions? Sean?
Has one.
Yeah, or just a comment. There was just one bid on this, and if I'm not mistaken, this replaces our old ambulance that's got the 200,000 miles on it.
Yes, we currently have a 2012 Dodge 4500 that has roughly 199,000 miles and some change on it.
Councilman Smith?
Did we adjust the impact, didn't we only have 200,000 in impact funds allocated to this? Did we have 250,000? But I see you worked it out though from impacts.
Yeah, I was just adding up as everyone was just discussing. It's like we have the correct amount to be able to pay for it with impact assistance.
Thank you.
Yep.
Did you have a question, Councilman Durst? Oh, must have saw your beard.
Oh, no, Sean raised his hand, so I said Sean had a question.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Anybody else? All right, please open online voting.
Online voting is open.
Since you're in charge, can I drive it first?
Online voting has closed. The motion passes with 7 yeas.
I get a red side.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. The next thing on our agenda is location and expenditures for the dog park. Our Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve the location expenditures for the dog park development at Key Club Park.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the location and expenditures for the dog park development at Key Club Park. Any discussion? And I would expect some from you.
Honorable Mayor, City Council. So City Council has allocated $25,000 from general fund reserves for this project. In addition, Wyoming Community Gas has been generous and has donated $45,551 that the City Council has allocated towards the development of a dog park.
Aren't those backwards?
Yep.
It's only 20,000 from Wyoming.
10 and
Yeah,
10.
I think you just
Yeah, that's
added
right. That's
that
right.
was all.
Yeah,
You
that
just
is
said
correct. My apologies.
totally.
So we held 2 town hall meetings, one January 27th and one March 30th, to gather community input on all things dog park, location, what type of features residents and community members would like to see. We had good attendance at these meetings, overwhelming support and good feedback on developing a dog park in Rollins. We also talked about locations, and community members as well as staff agreed that Key Club Park would be the ideal location because of the central location in Rollins, as well as the amount of space for dog park and the existing fencing that would allow our dollars to go further. So basically, if you have, let me actually, real quick, within that funding, we're looking at getting started with, say, like a phase 1, which would complete the perimeter fencing. We're looking at the cost estimate for phase one would be between 15 and 25,000. So that would be to complete all the fencing for the perimeter, install a staging area, so between the parking lot and the dog park per se, so that there's a gate, you bring your dog in, and then there's an open area, and then there's a gate again to get to either the small dog portion or the any dog portion. So we would also install fencing to separate small dog and any dog. We would add some picnic tables and benches that we do already kind of have, so we don't have to purchase those. We already have waste bins and dog waste bin holders that used to be along the perimeter, the walking trail, so we can use those. And then we'd want to install some signage and rules and things like that. So that's a smaller portion of that initial funding that gets us a dog park, fairly soon. One thing we are working on is the fencing along Colorado, and we're trying to identify exactly what our setback is and what we're going to do about our irrigation and moving it back. So we should have that confirmed in a week or so. So from there, we can talk to dog park owners, let them have a park to run and have fun, and then start talking about, with the remaining funds, where do we want to use that funding? Do we want to have a covered area somewhere in the park? Do we want to add gravel to the staging area? Do we want to install a perimeter walking trail? So we kind of wanted to use the initial funds to get something up and running sooner than later. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have.
Councilman Weisenberg?
How much of that area are you planning on using is for it, if this passes? And what were the other options of a dog park? We're just putting a skate park in that park. And I think we should spread the wealth through the whole community and other areas too.
So the Key Club Park property is about 1.9 acres. It's just shy of 2 acres for the dog park. Other locations that were brought up was the Old Outlaw Bowl, which seems like a great location. Our concern was it's being utilized currently for youth soccer and other youth sports programs. And we thought that, when anytime we develop parks, we got to look 30 and 50 years down the road. And I'd hate for our community to go, boy, I wish we still had the soccer fields and that turf for play. So that's what kind of took that off. Originally, when we went to council, prior to really having, when we originally had the initial $10,000 and change from Wyoming Community Gas, we talked about doing smaller dog runs, really rather than a park, and we talked about Martinez Park and we talked about Washington Park, but those are much smaller. They're not really a dog park. They're more like a dog run that you would see in in like an inner city area. Other options were properties that were not owned by the city. One of the first suggestions was the old pen, but we talked to their joint powers board and they're not interested in developing a dog park there. So we did kick it around quite a bit, and it just seemed that Key Club Park was kind of collectively what everybody ended up pointing at.
Is the majority of this funding, is a lot of the funding, I guess, going to go to leveling that area?
So initially, we are going to fence it in and basically allow a dog park with the how it is now. Some of the feedback we received in the meetings liked the idea of having that, elevation change, and the dogs can get some exercise and running around. But in the back of our minds, we're thinking at some point we might do some minor grading and leveling off some of those humps. For me, it's more, and Tyrell and I walked the whole property a week or two ago, and for me, it's more kind of visibility for some dog, if you can't kind of see your dog. So some of those areas we might want to lower. We might consider removing some of the rabbit brush, I think we call it, and some other things. But our thought was, let's get something in there now, and then let's talk to dog owners and see where that funding is best utilized, the remaining funding for that park.
I'll be honest with you, I like the part of starting smaller to see if it works. I mean, if people use it, that's great. If they don't use it, then we'll know too. And so I think phasing it makes me feel a little better about it, to be honest with you. Councilman Smith?
I'm sorry to keep going on this, but I see the biggest need where all these people come in and stay in motels, and then their dogs are out on the front of the hotels and down by Burger King and all that, relieving themselves. So I mean, I don't have any problem putting this at park, but I want those people to know somehow that there's a dog park that they can take their pets to, so people aren't having to contend with those issues.
Right, I agree, and I think we would let those businesses know to give that information out. And I did leave out one other option for consideration was over there kind of in front of Burger King where the Welcome to City of Rollins sign is, that small area. The town hall meeting steered a different direction, but I really do like that idea, and I think that was actually someone that's sitting in this room's idea. And I think down the road, a smaller version of a dog park, if funding became available, might be a great location right there, right next to hotels and shopping and everything, where people can let their dogs run.
It's visible right up that freeway.
It is.
think
I
it's a
should
good
say,
idea.
there's an app and there's maps. If you're traveling and you're traveling I-80, there's a map system where it shows every dog park there. So I really believe that this would be another reason for people to stop in Rollins for several hours and have lunch and maybe stay the night, and they have a place for their dogs to run. Because I know when our family travels, we have 3 dogs, and we look for that when we travel for dog parks. So
I think it's a good idea. I think that it's going to relieve some of the pressure that we have at our cemetery, at our parks. You know, I think those dogs are all going to run to the dog run and use their thing over there and leave these parks. We won't have to clean them because I think all the dogs will be at the dog run. So I think it's an excellent idea.
All right, anybody else? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed. The motion passes with 5 yeas and 2 nays. Councilmember Martinez and Councilmember Weisenberg were nays.
All right, next thing on our agenda is a bid, to look at a bid for a skid steer. Councilman Smith?
I move to award the bid for skid steer with attachments for Parks and Recreation Department to Wyoming Machinery Company in the amount of $62,236.47 with no trade-in.
Councilman Gardner, did you second that?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. There's been a motion made and seconded to award a bid for a skid steer with attachments for Parks and Rec Department to Wyoming Machinery Company in the amount of $62,236.47 with no trade-in. Is there any discussion?
if I could, Honorable Mayor and Council, the bid that staff's recommending council award is $7,763 under budget. We are recommending that council approve the bid to Wyoming Machinery Company. While it's not the lowest bid by, I think, about $1,200, we feel it's necessary to award the bid to this to Wyoming Machinery for the following reasons. The bid meets or exceeds all bid specifications. It's one of only 2 bids that came in under the $70,000 budget. It's the only company able to provide local, in-town support, and they have a shop and field service technician in Rollins. Any other brand of equipment must be hauled out of town, or a technician would have to come into Rollins. So that's a really big one for us, and down the road could be a huge cost savings for the city. And it's the only bid capable of delivering in a short amount of time, between 14 and 21 days after, if council chooses to approve. And it's amazing to me, because when we talk mowers and we talk trucks and we talk ambulances and we talk all this kind of stuff, we're looking so far down the road that I almost still have to look at this and did I read this right? So we could potentially have a skid steer to utilize this spring and summer, and it's already booked if we do get it. It's just we have many uses for it throughout our park system and through our golf course and even our shooting range. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Hearing and seeing none, would you please open online voting?
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed. The motion passes with 7 yeas.
Thank you. The next thing on our agenda is an ordinance change. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve an ordinance that amends section 1.08.020 municipal officers authorized to issue citations in addition to certified peace officers.
Second?
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve an ordinance that amends section 1.08.020 municipal officers authorized to issue citations in addition to certified peace officers. Is there any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Just to give a little bit more clarity, currently, besides peace officers, we have authorized 5 other types of municipal officers to issue citations for specific purposes. That includes animal control, parking, building and uniform codes, zoning and subdivision, and nuisance enforcement. With this amendment, we're requesting to add water conservation enforcement to this due to the fact that all of our other officers are overwhelmed. And if we were to approve the water conservation process that is coming up for vote as well, we would need an enforcement arm to be able to do that. That would not overwhelm the current zoning or nuisance abatement officers.
Any questions? Councilman Weisenberg?
I thought that was already in there from the last one, that when we had had to put restrictions on.
There was no enforcement section of who could actually write the citations, which is why we are also bringing you an update to that ordinance as well.
Any more questions? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting is closed. The motion passes with 7 yeas.
Thank you. The next thing on our agenda is ordinance repeal, I guess. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve an ordinance that repeals Chapter 13.10 Water Use Management in its entirety and adopts a new Chapter 13.10 to address water use management and conservation, drought and water emergencies, provides for sod permits and other exemptions, establishes penalties for violations, and more.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve an ordinance that repeals Chapter 13.10 Water Use Management in its entirety and adopts a new Chapter 13.10 to address water use management and conservation, drought and water emergencies, provide for sod permits and other exemptions, establishes penalties for violations, and more. Is there any discussion? Cody, I'll have you explain what this means.
So what we've been going through with our water committee is just we're looking at a possible drought year this year, and we would really like to conserve our water. So until we get our infrastructure fixed, which could be 3 to 5 years, we really like to implement a program to conserve water. And a lot of this falls around irrigation, new sod and seeding permits, and just trying to get people to stop watering their lawns so much so we can keep some of the water, or as much of it as we can. During the summertime, we use upwards of 3 to 4 million gallons a day, or 4 to 6 million gallons a day. right now, we're only bringing in about 1.3 million gallons a day. We will probably see that uptick a little bit more, but I don't know that we'll see a 4 million gallons a day coming into the city until we get our infrastructure fixed. So really, we want to implement this ordinance so that way we can closer watch and maybe don't want to, but cite people that are continually watering their grass and putting a damper on our water system basically over summertime when we're in a drought. So.
What was the part about the sod permits and stuff?
So what we're trying to do so we don't get an influx of people changing their lawns and watering their grass all at one time. We're trying to put out permits and to where we can stage them out to where our water isn't getting hit all at one time. We can kind of control the permits of the lawns going in, the new seeding and new sod permits. Because it takes so much water to get new sod and seed to take. So we don't want that really big influx and that hit to the city water system this year. So we still want people to be able to do it and beautify the city, but we need to control it a little bit more so we're not hitting the system so hard.
I understand the theory, physically, how's that gonna work? Like, I wanna put in a lawn, I have to come get a permit, and then.
Yes.
Tell me about the process.
So the permit should be feasibly inexpensive. I think we talked about a $50 permit, but we wanna make sure that you're prepping your lawn correctly to get this sod and seed put down to where it's gonna take, and we're not overwatering grass, and it's just gonna die in a month anyway. So basically, we're making sure that the citizens are going through the proper steps to prepare their lawn or the section of grass that they want to put sod or seed in, to where we know it'll take, and also that it'll take minimal water to get it to take. If the land is prepped correctly, it should take a lot less water to get that grass to grow. And that's as per fertilizers and fertilizing the ground, tilling it correctly, just prepping correct.
Councilman Weisenberg?
So I got a few things. You mentioned the water committee.
Well, yeah.
And who is on that committee?
We have Wendy, Nancy with water, Austin is in it, Gilbert. We have Wendy that's helped us draw up this ordinance. Superintendent, Water, Bud Demick is in it. Let me see, who else do we have in that committee? Kathy McPherson was part of it.
So none of us was involved, and there was a.
The council was invited via an email to come join us if you wanted to.
So there was a discussion of a water committee, and this would have had to do with the last water restrictions last time, and we had said, if I remember correctly, Councilman Gardner even offered to sit in on that, and that didn't happen this time, right? And then as far as like the sod permit, I can't agree to that, honestly. I mean, the simple fact is it's people are gonna do it, right? No matter, I mean, it's just a flat work permit. We just are gonna discuss flat work again, and it's something that it's not feasible to charge the community a rate to put in a sod, or not just that, or seed their lawn, right? And who's gonna, are we gonna work with Parks and Rec on that to, because who is in our city, who's a person that is able to say that the soil's prepped properly? I mean, I'd only know a couple people through maybe the golf course, that would be able to go there, and do they have that time?
I want to address your first question, Councilman Weisenberg. So this committee is, I know the committee that you're talking about is to study the rates, and so this was meant to be a different committee that's just talking about water restrictions, just one ordinance. And I think what you're referring to is one that we really get into the weeds of, like, here's our fee structure, here's how people get charged, and so this is meant to address a quick issue, but we definitely want to set up that committee.
So originally it was talked about on that, when we discussed getting a committee, it was talked about due to the fact that we had the restrictions in place also, and that was my understanding, that was gonna be taken into consideration, because the amount of water that was recommended was way less than what, or was way more than what the restrictions said. And we went with that at that point in time. And someone from the council was gonna be involved in a committee also with the water restrictions. That was my understanding.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen the email or not, but I did invite the council, anyone that wanted to participate with us with this committee was welcome to attend. And I think the permitting process is onto the next topic there, is something that I don't even necessarily know if we have, the perfect process, because this is just,
We don't.
this is like the first step, getting it out there. And also, I do remember one issue that we had like a couple of times where someone who had a business to get lawns set up and that sort of thing came in, and we had water restrictions, and we had just kind of a hard line of like, you can't do this, but it impacted their business. And so this, to me, is a way where we can say, oh yeah, this is your livelihood, of course, here, let's give you this permit to do it. So that was just another
It's
thought
more being able to
process
let
that-
people do it instead of putting the restrictions on to where you can't do it at all.
Kind of like these rig trucks that were up there the other day, 5 of them, and they're full of mud. And they were washing at the washing outfit, they were washing their rigs down. And then before that, I go by there was I must have been 10 or 11 outhouses, and they were in there using water in the outhouses when we had a broken line and restricting people from using water. I mean, my thinking is this: we need to be fair.
Yeah.
We need to be fair with everybody, not just the person that's trying to keep a nice yard and put some lawn up and stuff to make our town look nicer. In one hand, we're saying, let's beautify our town, let's make our community look sweet. The next time we're telling them, hey, you better come in and get a permit if you're gonna put any sod.
Yeah, and
I have a problem with that.
That was really one thing, is we really were looking at this to where we can keep the town going in a beautification direction under drought scenarios, because looking at it right now, we will be under drought scenarios. It's just how bad.
I agree.
And we do want to keep greening up the city and beautifying, but I think we have to take steps to do it properly. So we don't just take big hits to our water system. Because like I said, if we're only bringing in like 1.5 million gallons a day, and our normal use on a low year is 4 million, we're gonna be in a really bad spot where we're not gonna let anybody do it.
And I agree with what you're saying. I know what you're trying to do, but all I'm saying is that we gotta figure out a way to be fair.
Yeah.
When you drive by that robo-wash over there and you got 4 trucks full of mud and they're washing their trucks down, who's regulating them?
Well, and
But we
that's
can
in-
regulate
that's
the
in-
poor gal that's trying to plant some grass.
Yeah, that is in this ordinance too. It's, we're going towards, we like to see more of the recycled water wash stations stay open and use those in those times.
I agree.
If there is somebody that has a car wash that isn't recycled and it is their livelihood, there is exemptions in here. You come and fill out a form and you're exempt because it is part of livelihood.
There is no car wash in town with recycling water.
I thought that the west end one, or the east end one did have that.
No.
They don't do that?
No.
Okay.
None of them do. I used to own one, I know. Yes.
Our goal tonight really was to kind of get this out to council, not to like nothing with decisions or anything. It's kind of just get it out there and give you an opportunity if you had questions. I'm not sure how many of you even had a chance to read this, so it'd be a good time if you can kind of read through it, and then we can bring it at a different meeting for more discussion.
Okay. Some of this is very necessary, and I have to think about some of it.
Yeah,
to be quite honest with you. Councilman Garner?
I just want to be clear. It's only when we're in drought this all takes effect. Otherwise, we proceed as normal through the year.
Yes, exactly. But there's a section in here where what is considered a drought situation, and about 75% of it is matched right now as of April 1st, and that's when it was in there. So there is a classification of drought scenario, but at the same time, it's the city manager's leisure to put on the drought ordinance or not. It's just depending on where we're at with the rest of our water structure.
So,
Myra? I'm sorry. Were you done, Daryl?
Yes.
Myra?
I might have misunderstood the question, so I don't mean to cause any confusion. But to my understanding, this ordinance does include that we would, for the next 3 to 5 years, until the infrastructure is fixed, have an ongoing low-level water restriction. And then there's other tiers that can be met for drought. The problem isn't going to go away soon.
Just the drought ordinance.
Okay, well, let us digest this and we'll talk about it
Oh,
next time.
absolutely.
Thank you.
But we have a motion on.
Yes, we have a motion to approve.
Oh. All right.
Do we,
Should,
Should we postpone whoever made the motion?
I made the motion.
Yes.
Can I move to postpone that now? How do I?
It should be a motion to approve the first reading, so that we can move it to a second reading.
Oh, so this is
This is first reading.
Oh, it doesn't have that in
Don't
here.
say that, no.
no.
So can I amend my original motion to say this is first reading? Because then that gives us time. Because then we'd have the 3 readings.
Who seconded it?
Aaron.
Do you accept that
agree,
as a friendly
yes.
amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, with the motion being,
Moving to approve on first reading.
yeah. Please open online voting.
So while that's coming through, I was just gonna say real quick, the other thing I think that we could look at is, places like Las Vegas and Arizona have been, looking at these issues for a long time.
Yeah.
And they have programs where the city pays you $100 and you remove your yard, and then you're water free.
And that's actually.
So I would just say,
Yeah.
consider some of these ideas.
So we actually did, Wendy got with some of these city entities that do put this in place, and a lot of zero-scaping programs, which that's in here, we'd like to try to give incentives for zero-scaping, or you cutting your lawn in half and putting, a zero-scape in, having a little bit of
Cool.
green, but cutting back on your water use. And there is an incentive, we're trying to do an incentive program in here to help people too. We really, like I said, we really don't wanna stop beautifying, but with the way our city is right now and the climate that we live in,
It's not gonna
there's
change.
other
water's
ways to
gonna be an
beautify
issue.
our city without using so much water.
Yeah, and them deer already killed most of the lawn, so help us leave them.
Councilman Smith?
I don't want to be confused because I'm not really, but I think there's parts of this is way too restrictive on our population. And I don't think it's going to go over very well. But I don't feel that the other ordinance that we have on the books is addressing all of the issues. I'm probably going to vote for it because I want the time to tweak it, but there's just some things in here that I feel we're intruding upon people's property rights. And I'm just going to have to put it that way. But I don't want to go on and on here, but I just have some real icky feelings about it. But I know I don't want this to be something that we force people to do. I want it to be because we have to do it, not because we're going to just do it every year. And the city manager is going to make that decision. But I want it to be a prudent decision, not just because we're just going to do it every year. So, I mean, I've got some of those feelings going on, but I'll vote for it because we can maybe tweak it. And if not, if we don't work it out, then we can vote no. But I'll go ahead and say I'm going to vote for it.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed. The motion passes with 6 yeas and 1 nay. The council member Weisenberg was nay.
All right. Thank you. Next thing on our agenda is a discussion about the 6th Street overpass. Austin, I guess you'll tell us all about it.
Okay, great. Honorable Mayor, City Council. So, on March 8th, 2022, we received a letter addressed to the Honorable Mayor. It says, Dear Mayor Wycombe, the federal bipartisan infrastructure bill, or infrastructure law, BIL, dedicated $45 million per year for 5 years to the state of Wyoming to replace or rehabilitate bridges in poor condition. Poor condition includes severe or critical condition bridges. A minimum of 15% of these funds are to be used on local government-owned bridges and is federally funded at 100%. No matching funds are required by the local governments. There are currently 86 bridges in poor condition that are not already scheduled for repair or improvement, owned by 29 local agencies. Many of these structures are significant in size and may be challenging for local agencies to replace. This plan will fund the replacement or rehabilitation for the largest bridge in poor condition in 29 local agencies' inventory. This will address 44 of the 86 bridges in poor condition. In the city of Rollins, the following bridge has been identified to be replaced or rehabilitated. The South 6th Street Bridge over the UPRR, structure number CLV. If the agency concurs with the structure listed, please notify the district engineer in writing and include documentation showing the structure is under the jurisdiction of the local agency and within a dedicated public right-of-way. If an agency has other bridges in poor condition which are of higher priority than those on the attached sheet, please submit a substitution request in writing to the district engineer explaining why the local government wants federal bipartisan infrastructure. Wants substitution. Identify the route, milepost, and structure number, and include documentation that the structure is under jurisdiction of the local agency and within a dedicated public right-of-way. The state bridge engineer will review the request and the local agency will be notified in writing if the bridge substitution is approved. Once written concurrence has been received by WYDOT or a substitution is approved by WYDOT, a cooperative agreement will be initiated and the project will be placed in a Wyoming State Transportation Improvement Plan, a STIP. WYDOT will be responsible for planning, design, and construction of the project. Should you have any questions or concerns, please contact Michael McGinney, State Bridge Engineer, or Keith Fulton, Assistant Chief Engineer. From the Director, Luke Reiner. And so we've received this letter from WYDOT, and they've gone through and provided us a list of all the different structures throughout the state, and our structure, the 6th Street Bridge, has been identified as a project to receive federal funds.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
In regard to the bridge, the last conference that we had, the winter conference for the WAM, Councilmember Smith and I visited with WYDOT, and he assured me that we were on the list. He opened up a book and he said that overpass was one that's on the list, and that he also said that it wouldn't be replaced, but they would go over it and see what it needed to bring it up to standard. And
right.
So that was the information I got from the WYDOT.
Yeah, my assumption would be that we would do a Class 2 concrete repair, which would be to strip down the piers down to the rotten concrete and remove, replace, blow that blown out section. Use a high pressure blower to blow out the damaged concrete, and then to repair the steel, splice in new steel where it's needed, so that the classification will go from a 4, well, not a classification, but the bridge substructure rating will go from a 4 to a higher number, so that we can continue to have this structure perform for the city. And so what I've done is I've drafted a letter to WYDOT, and at the pleasure of the council, it would be just essentially responding to Mr. Trango. This letter is to inform you that the City of Rollins concurs with the selection of the South 6th Street Bridge for replacement or rehabilitation under the federal bipartisan infrastructure law.
That's awesome.
I'm excited.
Need a motion, we could just give direction?
Wonderful.
Put a stamp on that letter.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your work, Austin.
Thank you.
Probably over.
And everybody else's work, and kudos to Councilman Martinez for making sure that we got that done.
All right. Next thing on the agenda has been removed, and it's executive session time.
I move to enter into executive session at 10:03 PM per Wyoming statute 164405 to consider or receive any information classified as confidential by law, to consider the appointment, employment, right to practice, or dismissal of a public officer, professional person, or employee, or to hear complaints or charges brought against an employee, professional person, or officer, unless the employee, professional person, or officer requests a public hearing. The governing body may exclude from the public or private hearing during the examination of a witness any or all other witnesses in the matter being investigated. Following the hearing or executive session, the governing body may deliberate on its decision in the executive sessions.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to go into executive session at 10:03 PM. Any discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed and motion passes with 7 yeas.
100%, guy.
Bye-bye.